So I started a totally new Instagram page after having the same one for years, and I gave myself a 30-day challenge on Reels, and I failed. Now, the whole reason for this is because I want to share the lessons I learned with you in case you're thinking of moving an old account to a new account or just starting from scratch at all. Now, the first thing you need to know is the reason I was doing this is because my page was dead. For the last few years, I've been trying so many different styles and templates, and I've just been pretty consistent, but really nothing was going on. And it's all because years ago, when things were going super well, I paid for followers. And it's crazy that I did that. I was having good little momentum for someone who was never really a creator. And then a guy reached out to me asking about Instagram growth. And because I was kind of a newbie, I was like, I'm intrigued, and I went for it. And nothing was the same after that. So if you haven't done that before, number one, don't do it. Two, you're gonna have a big influx of followers, and then it's all gonna drop off, and it might be bots, it might be people paid to comment here and there, but everything got way worse after that. Initially, it looked super awesome, and I was like, wow, this is amazing, and then it just died. So then one of my clients who I was with recently in San Francisco was telling me his brother Neil, who's an Instagram expert, was like, you should just start a new page, get a new handle, get everything going on the next page, start from scratch and clean. And then if you want to get your old handle back, you could do it. Shut down the other one. And I was like, wow, after all those years I put into my old Instagram account, and I was like, but it didn't really do anything. So what's the harm? So I decided to go for it. And if we're just meeting, my name is Rich Cardona. I am a podcaster and podcast producer. I've got millions of downloads. My team and I have gotten millions of downloads for a lot of our clients. And my goal is to just always give you something valuable to take away, whether it comes to short form or long form content. And this is an experiment we thought would help. So stick with me because I'm going to give you all the little quarter turns of things that I learned that are going to potentially help you make better decisions. And I'm going to show you what Instagram is doing as of right now for me on this new page. So first thing is first, even though I'm not an IG expert, I've been around it long enough, and I know people who teach it and crush it to know we have to ask ourselves some questions before we start. None of this is meant to insult anyone's intelligence whatsoever. We just have to make sure that we're on the same page, and it starts with knowing who you want to reach with your content. And are you qualified to teach it? Now, it's one thing if I want to talk about woodworking and I'm not actually good at it and I'm just trying to learn it on the fly. But if it's podcasting or creating high quality social media content, I can help there. Now, the people I want to reach are probably not going to be the 20-year-olds or anything like that. It's people close to me in age who are founders, authors, and entrepreneurs. I'm 43, so I'm looking, let's just call it an age range between 35 and 45. Doesn't matter if they're a man, doesn't matter if they're a woman. These are people who are aspiring to create, probably have small accounts like me, and are looking for someone who may have had a breakthrough that could assist them. Now, one caveat to this whole thing is, how am I qualified to teach, or what am I qualified to teach? I have a media company, but I'm not good with tech. But over the years, I've figured out all kinds of little things that have made my life easier. And if I could give people that shortcut, that's going to be valuable. So that is who I'm focusing on. Now, aside from who you want the content to reach, you have to ask yourself, like, what do I want to be known for? I want to be known as a podcast expert, period, point blank. However, this is not necessarily about that because I need to reach a broader audience. Instagram is for a larger audience. I believe podcasting and YouTube is a little bit for more niche audiences. Now, Mr. Beast has the broadest audience in the world, and that's what he wants, but there's plenty of people on there who are doing tips and tricks for car maintenance, or people who have a knitting channel on YouTube, and the niche works. So in this case, I was purposely going to go a little bit more broad than just sticking to podcasting stuff for Instagram. More important than anything, I just want to be known for being helpful. That's it. Like I mentioned, I have the category of people. I know the age range. I just want to be someone that people look at and go, dang, like, thanks for that tip. That saved me this much money, or that saved me this much time on my workflow, or I am now able to articulate better in my podcast or long form content or short form content. And that leads me to the third question you should be asking yourself, and that is, what are your goals? Now, I say goals because there's probably multiple, and for us, remember I was just talking about a broader audience? It is brand awareness, not business. We are pretty high ticket, so our packages range from $4,000 to $8,000 to $10,000 a month for some of the things that we do. I've never gotten a client off IG, and I've never really tried. And I'm not saying IG people can't afford it or anything like that, but I'm not going for business. I'm just going for awareness, because when I meet those people who are potential prospects, it's usually via a referral, or I met them at a conference or a networking event or something, or my clients introduced me to them. If they go to my IG, I want them to see that I have good sound, good high quality video, etc., so they can kind of imagine themselves having the same thing. Second goal would clearly be to just outperform my old dead ass page that I hate. Okay, what can I learn from that page to not do on the new page? So obviously I want to outperform it, and I needed some baseline stats. So what we're going to do at the end of this is make sure you see all the results, and it's going to be a good juicy section where you're going to see what the last couple months on my old page look like versus the 30-day challenge that I did on a brand new page. By the way, my goal follower-wise was 1,000 in 30 days. So some of the things we're going to look at are amount of saves, amount of engagement, reach, how many non-followers I was reaching. And again, we'll have that at the end, but it is very eye-opening, so make sure you check it out. Another thing we wanted to do was collect emails. And the reason is you don't own Instagram, you don't own your audience on Facebook or YouTube or anything like that. But if you get an email, you can still interact with your people. Now, I don't want emails so I could sell to people or so I could bombard them with emails. I want them so I could reach them, because if they find anything that I have helpful, I want to be able to still stay in touch with them and they stay in touch with me. One of my good friends, Omar, from the video department out in Vegas, he is a fantastic creator. He teaches me a lot and a lot of other people, but he got hacked, and it was like, I just saw how discouraging that was to him. And even though he overcame it, he realized at that moment, like, I could have lost everyone if I had not had any emails, and he's lucky he did. And the last thing I wanted to do goal-wise was become a better communicator. Now, that's not really tangible. There's not going to be numbers that show that, but Instagram forces you to be more concise with your message and get to the meat of the problem and deliver value in a quick way. Podcasting is not algorithmic. Podcasting is basically, can you interact with people? I love long form content, and I love podcasting because you don't have to do, the hook and the retain and the reward and the CTAs and all that stuff as much. But for Instagram and for short form content, you do. So I just wanted to be able to see, can I share a big idea in a short amount of time? And I think being a better communicator is something that could benefit all of us. If you're enjoying this or it's resonating with you, I would definitely ask for your support by subscribing and hitting the bell so you get notified when I got more videos coming out. Let's get back to the lessons. So let's move on to what we actually did. The first thing we did was plan on a schedule that would make it really easy and seamless, so we didn't have to think about the content we were going to record and on what day we were going to record it, etc. The goal was to completely eliminate any guesswork, and it didn't really work out. Here's what we had decided. On Sunday, it was going to be Scary Sundays, where it was talking to the audience about their fear of creating and motivating them to take that next step and to just create. Monday would be an old post from my old page that had succeeded, and we would just repurpose it on the new page and see if it did well there too. So Tuesday was going to be Tech Tip Tuesday, or whatever you want to call it. Anything that was going to be tech related, whether it's video, audio, filming, anything that could save you some time. So that's what we did on Tuesdays. Wednesday was going to be me auditing a host, someone who has a podcast, and auditing whether it's a question they asked, an answer that was given, how they set up something that showed, hey, like, I can evaluate this podcast host and this is what they could have done better, or this is why they did amazing. Thursday was going to be a client spotlight, old clients, new clients, something, a client that had a win and how we were able to do it, or just basically putting people on notice. Here's some of the people that we work with, and here's what they're doing right now, and they're crushing it. Friday is what we call Free Resource Friday. It's when our YouTube videos come out, but every YouTube video that we make, at least for this year, what we're trying to do is make sure we provide a free resource because people consume things differently. So the free resource was a way to, number one, get some engagement by telling people to DM us or to comment, and also a way to collect emails. The whole purpose of that reel is just basically to let people know, like, hey, here's something I covered. You could go watch it or you could go download it. And then Saturday was based off systems. Our team loves operations and systems. So we're like, okay, what can we talk about systems related that can be of value? We kind of shifted and made it small business Saturdays as well, well because I love small business. I am a small business owner, so we figured that would be a valuable post. Now that seems simple enough, and I think on day one I went all around town here in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I batched, I think, 15 reels in like 4 hours. So that's me taking a camera, taking mics, whatever it is, and just recording all over the place. Now here is the thing. I did not put a ton of thought into preparing for those reels. And like always, this is a habit I should have recognized about myself, and you might be the same way, is once I start recording, I just want to kind of go with the flow and I abandon whatever script I may have had, or if I didn't have a script, I'm just like, I will absolutely wing it. And what happens is I start to get to this place where I'm like, cool, I'm getting quantity, feeling relief because I'm getting reels done, but it doesn't mean the quality of them was that good. So next thing I know, I'm just kind of rambling. I get them back to my team and they're like, what is this? So the quantity was not necessarily there, even though I recorded 15. So I was not out of the woods. As a matter of fact, my content manager is like, I want you to re-record some of these. Not to mention there was technical difficulties in a couple of them, or maybe background noise, or maybe I stopped the camera too soon. So that did not work out. Now, batching is a huge part of our content strategy for our clients because of long form. We get detailed episodes and notes and all these things, and they just have everything gift wrapped for them. I did not do that for myself. And when you don't take the time to do that, it actually takes you more time to do the recordings. And then in post-production, because someone's going to look at them and be like, this isn't good, you need to redo it. So I actually increased the amount of time it was taking me to make reels because I didn't take the time to plan in advance using some of the best practices. Another reason this failed was because of editing. Editing takes a lot of time. Now, I actually have a team. I am blessed to have a team. This happens to be, something that we do for other people. So I have that. You might not have that. So this might relate to you in a major way. You got to do it yourself. What I could not do was use my lead editors to edit videos for me when they should be working on client stuff. So I was like, I will do it myself. I said to myself, I will just do this on CapCut. It won't take me too long. And because I got out of a rhythm, like I was talking about before, and I was having to redo some videos and all that other stuff, all of a sudden there was no backlog. I was just rushing to do it. That led to me being at home, because I was posting closer to night, being at home, editing on CapCut, ignoring my daughters, missing dinner, all this other stuff, just so I can make sure this is done. Now, these are very simple edits, nothing crazy at all, but I wanted it done a very certain way. And then once I was done doing that, I was like, okay, wait a second. Now I got to do the thumbnail. Then I got to do the caption or the copy for the caption. And it was just all of a sudden super time consuming. I was on my phone instead of playing with my daughters, instead of eating dinner, instead of helping around the house. Every night it turned into this, and that was definitely a big fail. Now, there's a friend of mine named Jess who I'm working with, and she helps people who have IG and want to help their small businesses through that content. Now, there's a lot of advice she gave me, but one of the most important things was that the reels were too long. We were looking at some of the insights and we're like, wow, people aren't watching that much of it. So we had to shorten them. Now, here I was, because I had winged it earlier in some of those, trying to trim something that was 1 minute and 9 seconds to 27 seconds. And I did not think that was going to be challenging, but all of a sudden you're like, oh, but this is important. This is important. Everything's not important. So I had to trim those, and getting that down to a place where you cut everything that doesn't need to be in there, but it's still coherent and makes sense to the viewer was time consuming. And that was just another trap down the editing hole. And that's when it got to the point where I was like, this sucks. So my content manager, I was like, hey, this is taking me too much time. Can you do it? All of a sudden, even though she made a couple okay edits, all of a sudden I found myself in a position where I was coaching someone to do something that they weren't meant there to do. She's handling YouTube. She's handling resources. She's handling coordination with the editors. She does not need to be editing short form videos for me. So that was another lesson learned. I tried to outsource it to someone who did not need to be doing it. It needed to be me. But because I was from the beginning all kind of jacked up and unorganized, this was becoming even more of a problem. So the learning point for you and for me is that the longer it takes, the less fun it is going to feel. Not only that, but you might be ignoring things that are more important, whether that's family, or whether it's family and business, or family and your job. Whatever it is, you're probably ignoring something else if you're spending a ton of time getting your reels together for an audience. Now, if you are trying to be a full-time creator, that's another story. But I think people like you and me are trying to be part-time creators where it seems full-time. Another quarter turn or another lesson is that I am a system and routine guy, and I drifted from that. And because of that, all of a sudden I was chasing my own tail. I actually missed one of the 30 days posting when my daughter, my little daughter, broke her arm and needed a surgery. And it would have been great during all that waiting time at the hospital to just been like, there, I got something in drafts, post, it's already done. No, because I wasn't ready, I had to scramble to get something the next day. Okay, now we are going to get to the results, and we're going to try and display these as best as possible, comparing the old page and the new page. We are going to be comparing the last month of the old page and the first month of the new page. And if I get these transposed, oh well, sorry, my bad. Let's get into it. So we'll start with just the amount of accounts that were engaged. And please remember, I had over 6,100 followers on this old account. Okay, so this had 233 engagements on the old account in the last 30 days of it. And on the first 30 days of this account, we had 205. Now, a couple big takeaways, as you can see, is 33% of those interactions or engagements were non-followers, which is not that great. Over here, the amount of engagement from non-followers is over 60%. That's a really big deal. So overall, when it comes to the engagements, and by the way, there's stories over here. So that 6,100 people, yeah, my stuff only goes to a fraction of them, but the stories were interactions as well. Not a lot of people were interacting with the stories over here. So it's a little bit lopsided. They're almost dead even. That being said, the Reels engagement over here was about 168. Now again, we're talking about a 6,100 follower account. And over here, Reels engagement was 198, so almost 200. That is basically an 18% increase. So that is a victory. Let's talk about reach. Over here on the old account, about 5,000 accounts were reached. On the new account, double those accounts were reached. Double. This account has like 100 something followers. This one has 6,100 followers. That's a big deal. So that made me feel fantastic. The reach is there. Now here's kind of a surprising part. 84% of the reach was to non-followers on this side, which I was like, basically, given the last metric we covered, pretty surprised by that. On this side, 98% of people were non-followers. So here's just something you need to know. All those 6,000 people over here, number one, it's like, I have no idea who they're consisting of besides like friends, church friends, some people that follow me, etc. But like, I told everyone, go to this page if you want to follow me. So in the end, when it comes to reach, it was about a 91% increase in reach on the new page that has about 100 something followers versus the old page, which was just dead. Let's go to the next metric. Now, I've talked about it a bunch, but it's about 6,100 followers over here. There was only actually 6 unfollows in the last month over there, but it's usually pretty jagged and kind of crazy and unpredictable. And it makes sense because my content was just really experimental because I was just like, why is it not performing? So that makes sense why I was a little bit crazy over here. Over here, there was only 3 unfollowers in that 30 days, which is fantastic. Obviously, because it's a new page, there's more follows, but only a fraction. I mean, a absolutely completely negligible fraction of people from my old account came over to the new one. I mean, very, very few people. So a lot of it is actually new followers who are consistent with, what they need and in the content creation space, which is great because that's who I want to serve. And last but not least, we got to get into the Reels interactions. That means we got to talk about likes, we got to talk about comments and all that good stuff. So Reels interactions overall, old page, 485, new page, 538. I'm going to have to look at my phone for some of these just to be efficient. So we had 289 likes over here in a month. And then we had 416 likes over here in a month of the new account. That is a 44% increase. 41 comments on the old account, 43 comments on the new account. That increase is negligible. But it does mean one thing that's very obvious, that I am not having a conversation enough with the people. I'm just kind of putting information out there. So the lack of comments means that there's a lack of call to actions and a lack of kind of conversation starting reels. So cool. That's a good takeaway for me. I need it. I want it. I'm big on making savable content. Like I love savable content from people, and I want to get to the point where people are saving my content a lot. But over here on the old account, we had 13. And over here, we had 18 saves. I'm thrilled about that. Truly thrilled. That means 18 out of the 30 days that we posted, or 29 because I failed. But 18 out of the 29 days, essentially something was saved, which is fantastic. So that is about a 39% increase. I will take that all day. Now, shares over here was 11, and then shares over here was 61. And now before, it seems like that's a huge increase, which is 454%. I'm totally transparent. Like, I was on my old page sharing reels from that page on the story. So those count. So I probably only did it about 20 times. So probably more like 41 shares versus the 11 on the old page. And there you go. So the biggest takeaways are this, and I'm going to go ahead and reference some of this. As far as the accounts engaged, there's not much I could do about that, but we're on the right track. Most of the reels, when I look at the insights, have about over 92 to 95% views from non-followers, which is exactly what I want. So not a lot I could do there, and not a lot I could do in terms of reach, with the exception of maybe some hashtag strategy or talking about pain points a little bit stronger at the beginning of the reel to just make sure that if people stick around and they like it and watch it, that it'll get showed to more people. For followers, I'm not exactly sure what I can do except something I used to do, which is DM every person that becomes a new follower and just thank them. So that's one thing that I could do to just like make them stay. As far as getting new followers, again, that's just going to revolve around how valuable the content is, which we're always dialing in. When it comes to the Reels interaction, I already kind of talked about it, but comments, like, I have to have a conversation. I have to talk to you. I have to talk about pain points. I have to get emotional kind of tugs in there in order for people to actually want to take time to comment. Another thing it could be is that some of the Reels were too long. The shorter, the better, but I need to have calls to actions, not only in the Reel itself, but also in the caption. So that is going to lead to more comments. And then when it comes to shares and saves, that's just a matter of like, are you putting out information that is actually desirable for other people? Saves are not a huge deal because how many times do you go back and like look at your saves? Almost never. But shares do matter because that means that's essentially word of mouth marketing, right? If someone shares it on their story, if someone shares it with someone else, they're saying this is valuable enough that I think other people need it. So it's just a matter of getting more concrete with the topic. So overall, this experiment, while a failure in certain ways, was a huge success in other ways by like being able to kind of emotionally let go from this old account and be like, good riddance. And now I can focus over here on being a better brand building platform, personal brand, and for our rebrand for the company. But the reach is obviously fantastic. I'm learning a lot faster. So with all the information that I have and the mistakes that I can fix based off everything in this 30-day challenge, I think I could have a very heavy year. And by heavy, I mean, if I get to 10,000 followers within 365 days of this, I'll be thrilled. If I get 100K, I'll be over the moon. But anything I can do to get over that 6,100, I will do. So here's your lesson. Don't buy followers. And if you have a dead page, check out a new page. And if you enjoyed this video and it was useful for you, definitely subscribe and hit the bell. And check out our how-to podcast playlist where we got all kinds of stuff podcast related for you. Later.